Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. This week I'm speaking with Amit Shankardass, who's the Executive Vice President of Worldwide Marketing at Teleperformance. Teleperformance is one of the giants in customer experience strategy, serving over 170 markets from 80 different locations and with over 300,000 people in their team. Before Teleperformance, Amit also ran global marketing at both Alorica and Sitel, so he's watched the CX market evolve, working with some of the biggest players, and he understands in great detail how this industry is changing. Now, one big change that we're all seeing at the moment is automation. Some companies are exploring how to automate their customer service function with chatbots and other tools, and others are investing much more in improving human support. Now, which approach is correct? And if the answer is a blend of human and digital service, then how do you decide where to draw the line? I called Amit to ask him for some insight on this question: digital or human CX? Looking at the whole CX market generally, it's sort of awash with a lot of emerging technologies. We're seeing artificial intelligence becoming important, robotic process automation, and there's a sort of repeated line in the business press that everybody will be replaced by automation, especially when we're talking about contact centers, for example. But where are we really? I mean, considering that TP is probably one of the biggest companies in this space, what are you guys seeing then?
Yeah, no, you're right. There is a lot of buzz and a lot of talk about RPA replacing humans en masse globally, not just in contact centers, but in back office processing centers and for many other jobs and roles. But here's the fact: 8 out of 10 customers still prefer to interact with human customer service agents. Fact is, humans deal better with emotions and complex situations. Humans orient better in new and unpredictable environments and complex environments that we live in. But now on the other hand, fact also is that basic process automation has given way to much better processing of unstructured data and database knowledge. Cognitive automation is in its infancy or in its development. So there is absolutely a place for automation and these enhanced forms of automation on the one hand, but there's also very much a place for the human interaction. And the way I think people should look at it is really today, for 2019 in particular, and we'll talk about the future in a minute, but for 2019, 2021, the future of customer service really lies in leveraging human potential through technology. It's about improving the agent experience, business process optimization, the customer experience, to drive that digital transformation. Or if you notice what I did, it's really the ABC that leads to the D. That's the agent, business, and customer experience that leads to the digital transformation.
Okay.
Without a doubt, though, Mark, by the way, you're right. In the future, there's going to be more and more that will be automated, but more and more humans, the human skill set will need to adapt.
Mm-hmm. But certainly then, if at present, human agents are still essential because they're offering empathy, emotion. Customers still appreciate talking to a human. And at the present, you can't really make an emotional connection with a chatbot. So can we be using some of these technologies to actually assist what the humans operating in the customer service center are doing? I mean, to help them to be super agents, for example.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that's, I think, a very sensible approach, particularly in today's day and age. According to CCW Digital, agent productivity is a huge concern for many contact center service providers. 80% of agents require multiple systems when supporting customers. And, when you talk about multiple systems, there's inefficiency in looking through and working through these multiple systems. Nearly 50% say agents spend too much time on rote repetitive tasks, which can easily, or very often, I shouldn't say easily, but very often can be automated. You can leverage a bot. 50% say optimizing workflow is a major priority for the year because that's where they see efficiencies and effectiveness of agents. So to your point, by handling some of these rote, repetitive tasks, automation allows agents to spend more time on high-value work like connecting with a consumer, right? One human connecting with another human. Really, it should be you're spot on about the super agent, so to speak. It should be about connecting and not investigating. Yeah. Um, so if you ask that, then so what should agents be doing? If 25% of their time is taken away from these rote tasks, it allows them to be better coached, better trained. It allows them to provide a service that's, to your point, more empathetic and more emotionally connected, a more authentic experience, right? Mm-hmm. And if you follow my earlier point about work becoming more complex, then it also allows them to be more resourceful and creative. So they are thinking much more than they're necessarily tasking or doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I mean, people are, in general, consumers are getting used to having AI and smart systems in their home. I mean, we've only got to look at the sales of Google Home, the Amazon Echo, Siri on the iPhone. There's a lot that these voice assistants get wrong. It's very easy to get them to make mistakes, but they are getting better, and we're seeing that they're getting a lot of information right as well. I mean, are these voice assistants becoming, in their own right, an important new CX channel?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt, they are, Mark. You look at what's happening with natural language processing over the years, NLP. It has improved dramatically from, several years where, it was a word or two that a machine could understand to where you can almost have a conversation. Now, if you have a highly accented voice or if your use of certain idioms or syllables is different, it becomes a little more challenging. But the development of NLP has been phenomenal. If you follow Moore's law in short order, this technology should be very robust, and it does open up a whole bunch of different avenues, even more so than today, for service and support. Some people believe by 2040, computers may reach the general level of human intelligence, which also means that they'll have, by that time, the ability to communicate just as freely as you and I are having this conversation with a machine. So I do think you're exactly right. With the advancements of NLP, companies today should be thinking about how they leverage this, and it'll become even more prolific in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but this is one of the problems in the industry, isn't it? That some people are looking far into the future and saying, we are going towards a digital future. But there's many others on the other side of the argument saying, well, the problem is that everybody still prefers to speak to a human. So, who's arguing or who's designing the best kind of blend of both digital and human services at the moment?
I'd say we are. Teleperformances. This is what we talk about all the time, right? We're very much of the belief of using high tech to help with high touch, because eventually, when humans are looking for help and service and support, they are looking for a human-like connection, and a human-like connection means that it has the characteristics of empathy, of relating with each other, of emotion. And in today's day and age, at least, and who knows, like I said, 20, 40 or years later, when computers become maybe as emotionally connected as humans, can't profess that will happen very, very soon. But until such time, it absolutely is a case. The new age hybrid way of working is the high tech with high touch. Businesses need to leverage chatbots and use messaging channels and RPA, intelligent advisors, in an agile manner, but do that in connection and in conjunction with a human-like experience. And that's absolutely where companies that are doing it right, that's exactly how they're doing it. That blending of humans and technology, the technology to assist the human, both from an agent perspective and assist the human from a customer perspective.
Okay.
Right? When you bring them together, that's where it becomes fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of walked into that by asking you who's doing this really well. Yeah,
you did.
So, I mean, following on from that, then, given the size of Teleperformance, and you must be working with clients on some projects that are blending digital and human support. I mean, where has it worked well, and what kind of projects are benefiting from this then?
There's several projects. You're exactly right. There's several projects we've done, but I think a few that kind of come to mind, and maybe travel's on my mind because I've been traveling a lot for the last several weeks. And imagine the situation where you call into, and we do this for one of our clients. Imagine the situation where you call in to change a ticket. You're going from Hong Kong to London to New York, and you want to change a leg of the ticket. When you call in, it's very often you'll find that the agent, the advisor on the other end of the phone will say, could you hold a moment, give me your PNR confirmation number. And there's a lot of checking and back and forth, and it's because they're having to navigate through those multiple systems, and in this particular case through a GDS, which is not all that well designed. They look for PNR, the fare rules, routes, dates, prices. Whilst the agent is doing this, the customer's sitting waiting, the agent's going through a whole bunch of menial work, all with the effort to collect the right information to be able to pass on to the customer. We've been able to automate a lot of that through bots. So whilst the agent collects the first data point, which by the way can be done through a visual IVR or through voice recognition to our earlier conversation, for that initial PNR or confirmation number, whatever the case may be, the bot can go and collect all this information. It searches for the fare rules, looks for the routes, looks at the pricing, looks at the fare basis, the associated rules, puts it all into one convenient screen for now the agent to be able to have a great conversation with the customer to resolve what they're looking for in a much quicker manner. By the way, in this particular case, we reduced processing time by about 30%. So there's obviously a cost benefit, but even more important, NPS for this particular client went up from 8% to 25%. Okay, so huge, yeah. you can see both benefits, right? So it helps the company because it's making them more efficient. By the way, it also helped reduce their retail loss, which is when an agent misquotes fare rules, etc. Right? Because now you have a bot doing it versus translation of a human. And that's where that human and bot works so well, where you can remove inefficiency and inaccuracies from the equation, but let the human create that connection with and facilitate the human to create the connection with the customer. I think that's a classic example of man and machine, so to speak, working together to have a more effective process, a more efficient process, and a better customer experience. That A plus B plus C to deliver digital transformation or type experience.
Yeah, and I think the compliance to rules is something that we don't often talk about, actually. Most of these stories in the business media are talking about labor replacement, and yet things like you've just talked about where an agent may well be quoting a new ticket price or a change in the travel arrangements, but then if they break the rules, the company will end up taking the hit on that ticket anyway.
You're exactly right, and that's where machine kind of does it so well, right? And you let the human then have the interaction and focus on the interaction, focus on creating a great experience for the customer versus, quite candidly, having to focus on reading through these rules and translating them. So that's where it comes together very well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just finally then, is there anything that we should be looking out for? I mean, are there any changes that you're seeing or things that clients are talking about that might be interesting in the year ahead?
I think you've hit on them in our earlier conversations. NLP, the developments, refinement, the accuracy, hugely important. Natural language processing is where interactions become much more human-like because you can now speak versus having to type. Needless to say, as one is looking at implementations of chatbots, the other things that you hear about, to your earlier point, is these failed implementations of chatbots or bots because, or virtual assistants, virtual agents, because people are thinking of taking cost out and not thinking about how do you meld both technology and humans to create a great experience. But advancements in that space, and certainly with the advancements in AI and cognitive automation, you'll see more and more opportunities to bring that blending together over the years. But those are what I would look for. NLP, huge. Chatbots today, certainly tomorrow, and cognitive automation downstream.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please take a moment to review the podcast because this helps other listeners to find it. And if you have any suggestions, then get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm at Mark Hillary with 2 L's, or just search Google for Mark Hillary.